All right, today we're tackling a massive issue, the huge clash between the dream of living a self-sufficient life and the reality of the regulations that can stop you in your tracks. We're talking all about off-grid homes. Let's get right into it. I know, it sounds a little dramatic, doesn't it? But honestly, this is the harsh reality for so many people in the UK. You've got the vision, right? The solar panels, the rainwater harvesting, the dream of total independence. Only to find out the law might not see it that way at all.
So you have to ask, what's really going on here? Well, the whole problem boils down to this huge conflict. The government is saying go green, but the official rulebook is, well, it's kind of stuck in the past.
And this really says it all. On one hand, you've got policies like the Future Home Standard, which is all about pushing for eco-friendly, low-carbon homes. Sounds great, right? But then on the other hand, you slam right into the existing building regulations, and they act as this massive roadblock. You see, they were designed for your standard grid-connected house, not for a home that's basically its own mini utility company. And look, we're not just talking about one or two little hurdles here. This is a full-on minefield of legal and technical traps. So let's break down the biggest ones that catch so many people out. Okay, so here's the absolute core of the problem. Believe it or not, UK law has no official category for an off-grid home. So what happens? If you live in your amazing self-built home permanently, the system automatically shoves it into a box called C3 dwelling house. And that single classification, that's what triggers the full weight of all the regulations designed for standard houses, including the brand new Building Safety Act. This is what we call the C3 trap, and it's where most of the headaches begin. And yeah, this picture just says it all, doesn't it? You've got this brilliant, innovative, self-sufficient home, a square peg, and the system is trying to force it into the round hole of these old, rigid C3 regulations. It's just a fundamental mismatch. And the system, well, it just isn't built to be flexible. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, starting with one of the first and biggest walls that builders hit. Part G of the building regulations. This one is all about water. The regulations use this one-size-fits-all calculation that assumes every single person uses 125 liters of water a day. But think about it. That completely ignores the reality of an off-grid home with these incredible systems that treat, filter, and recycle water. So you end up in this weird paradox. Your home might use just a tiny fraction of that water, but you still have to prove your design against the standard that just doesn't apply to you. And this is the question that drives innovators absolutely crazy. You can have a state-of-the-art system that purifies rainwater to a quality that's perfectly safe to drink, yet a lot of local building control officers will just reject it out of hand. Why? Because they're used to a simple pipe from the mains. They see anything else as a risk because it doesn't fit their standard familiar model. This really shows the two completely different ways of thinking. The regulations, they're based on this old, linear, mains-only model. Clean water comes in from an infinite supply, it gets used once, and then it goes out as waste. Simple. But the off-grid model is totally different. It's circular, it's a closed loop, it's ultra-efficient. The problem is, the rules are just lagging so far behind the technology. All right, next up we have Part H, which is all about drainage and waste. And if you're trying to use a modern, high-tech composting system instead of, a sewer connection or a big septic tank, you walk right into this massive regulatory gray area. Now, the rules do have provisions for very, very small liquid discharges. We're talking less than 10 liters a day. But let's be real, most homes are going to exceed that. And this often forces builders to install an expensive, grid-dependent treatment plant. Not because it's actually needed for the environment, but literally just to tick a box on a form. It just completely defeats the entire purpose of being self-sufficient in the first place. And just when you think it couldn't get any more complicated, well, there are some brand new financial traps coming in 2026 that every self-builder really needs to know about. First up, you've got the Building Safety Levy. Now, this is a new tax that's supposed to be for big, high-risk buildings, but the way it's written is so broad that it ends up hitting small, low-risk, innovative self-builds too. Then you've got the Infrastructure Act of 2026, which is basically going to push local councils to approve standard, grid-connected housing developments to meet their targets. And what does that mean for you? It means truly innovative, off-grid projects could get pushed right to the back of the line. Okay, I know, it all sounds pretty bleak, but here's the good news. Savvy builders, the ones who succeed, they aren't just giving up. No, they're learning to use the system's own rules against itself. And we call it regulatory jujitsu.
This is all about finding those clever loopholes and the little-known exemptions that already exist inside the rulebook to make your project compliant. So it's not about fighting the system head-on, it's about being smarter and navigating it with skill. So the first move in our playbook is the 10-year rule. Now, this is definitely a long-term play, but essentially, if a structure is built and you live in it for 10 continuous years, and the local authority never takes enforcement action against you, you can actually apply for it to be recognized as lawful. It's a very high-risk path for sure, but the reward is huge.
A much more practical strategy for most people is using something called the BNG de minimis exemption. BNG stands for Biodiversity Net Gain. There are new rules that require developers to prove their project actually improves local biodiversity. But, and this is a big but, there's an exemption for small sites under half a hectare. This is a game changer because it lets small, autonomous projects bypass a ton of expensive paperwork.
Now, this next one is really clever. Instead of trying to build a standalone off-grid home and getting caught in that C3 trap we talked about, you can build it as an ancillary pod to an existing, fully compliant main house. So think of it like a really advanced granny flat or a home office. By doing this, you can completely sidestep that difficult C3 classification.
And hey, if you happen to be in Wales, you have a massive advantage. It's called the One Planet Development Policy. And this is a really forward-thinking piece of legislation that specifically allows for off-grid builds as long as you can show that you can meet about 65% of your needs. We're talking food, income, the works, from the land itself. It's honestly a model that the rest of the UK could learn a lot from.
And there you have it, the complete innovators playbook. These 4 strategies, they aren't just theories on a page. These are the practical, legal pathways that successful off-grid builders are using right now as we speak to make their dreams a reality. So, where does all of this leave us? Well, as the UK starts to face more and more issues with energy and water scarcity, you have to believe the regulations will eventually have to catch up and embrace these self-sufficient solutions. But we can't just sit around and wait for that to happen. And this, right here, is the most important takeaway from all of this. For now, the secret to success isn't about fighting the rules or ignoring them. It's about knowing them inside and out and designing an incredible, innovative home that is also, from day one, regulatory compliant. It's all about being smarter than the system. For more videos diving deep into the technical requirements of building regulations, visit the Building Regulations Copilot YouTube channel. And for any building regulations related queries, head over to buildingregulationscopilot.com.